Time for a little bit of rum, some nostalgia, and a good old campfire? Hold on, here we go. Well, howdy friends. Brian Flechsig of Mad River Outfitters in the Midwest Fly Fishing Schools, and welcome back to another one of our fly fishing YouTube videos. This one, of course, features our great friend Flip Pallot. We were recently down at Flip's doing a bunch of work together, kind of getting ready for our Flip Pallot Mad River Outfitters Fly Fishing Schools. But we also spent a day on the water with our good friend and St. John's River guide, Johnny Lucier. Johnny's been a friend of Flip's and Mad River Outfitters for many, many years. In fact, you can go to flippallot.com and you'll find his bio in Flip's playgroup on the website. But anyways, Johnny is just a great, great guy, a fantastic airboat pilot. So if you're ever interested in doing some airboating on the St. John's River Marsh, check out Johnny Lucier. Give us a call. We'll be happy to put you in touch with him. After our day in the airboats on the St. John's River Marsh, we went back to Flip's house. We made ourselves a campfire, had a nice supper, and poured some solo cups of Frigate Reserve rum. And the conversation got around to the fact that it's been 20 years, now 20 plus years, since Flip and I filmed our first Walker's Cay Chronicles at a place called The Wilds here in Ohio. And it was quite the eventful filming. So, have a listen. Well, Johnny Lucier, thank you so much again for a great day on the water.
Yeah.
Did a fantastic job. In fact, we hear rumor that you were doing some directing behind the scenes. So our viewers out there have you to thank for a lot of the shots that we got today. So, you know, as always, Flip and I greatly appreciate everything that you do and you've done over the years. And we'd like to present you with this TFO Mangrove Coast fly rod. It comes equipped with a TFO BVK SD fly reel and of course the Flip Pallot high vis fly line.
That's my favorite fly reel right there. If you look at my stuff, I've got a bunch of them. That's all I use.
Well, thank you. I'll put it to good use and make him teach me how to use it.
Well,
I'll make sure you put it to good
that's
use.
the least we can do. We really appreciate everything you did for us today, and it was a pleasure being out there on the water. And you know, you guys are friends that go a ways back, might recognize you from doing a Walker's Cay Chronicles or two.
Yeah, did a couple with him. That's when I first met him, and
yeah,
done a few other things with him. But and I met you quite a while back. What was y'all's first episode y'all did together?
Well, it's funny that you ask. I don't know if you realize this, but 2022 is the 20th anniversary of the first Walker's Cay Chronicles that we filmed together.
At the Wilds in Ohio.
Yep, right in my
20
backyard.
years?
20 years ago we filmed.
God, you don't look that old. I mean, you really don't.
Well, thank you. I don't age. But yeah, it was 20 years ago that we filmed that episode.
I wish you'd have been there for that one. There's a story. I mean, you can't believe the story on that one.
Oh, there's several stories.
There are several stories on that one.
Yeah.
Well, tell it.
Man, I mean,
I'll let you start.
So we, you know, Brian and I go back and forth, and he tells me about this place in Ohio called the Wilds, where they have, I can't remember how many acres.
10,000 acres.
It was 10, that's right, 10,000 acres. And they were protecting these animals that were endangered around the world. There was a certain rhinoceros that they were put, hippopotamus and giraffes, and all loose on this 10,000 acres. But there was a series of ponds. They weren't really ponds, I think, initially. Or
strip mine.
They were strip mines.
Reclaimed strip mine land.
And they had filled up with water, and then they had filled up with really, really big bass. I mean, some really big bass. So Brian, we were looking for something to do, always with walkers, and we decided to go to the wilds with Brian and do this bass show there. So we get there, and Brian had everything taken care of. I mean, he had canoes, he had camera canoes, he had electric trolling motors, he had all the rods, all the reels, all the flies, all the line, everything. He had everything, all, you know, Mad River Outfitters had just taken care of everything.
Red carpet.
Yeah, I mean, we were, and the people from the wilds were so happy that we were there filming, and it was really, really, really a wonderful and beautiful. I mean, you couldn't tell that these were strip mines. I mean, they had all been planted with trees and everything. It was beautiful. So the first day, you know how it is on the first day of filming. I mean, you're getting used to the cameras, you're getting used to the place itself, you're getting used to a different kind of fishing that you've never done before. We were fishing out of canoes, you know, so you're casting at water level for these bass. I mean, it was just, we got some good stuff. We caught a couple of really, really nice bass.
Yeah.
And we got some really good footage on the first day. At the first pond, there were a whole bunch of different ponds, and our plan was to hit these different ponds. So the first day in the first pond, everything went really, really well, and we filmed right up until almost dark. So I said, listen, why don't we leave all of our stuff here? I mean, just leave everything here, and we can, I mean, nobody's here. You know, we just come back in the morning and get our stuff. There's nobody here. There's nobody can get into this place. No danger. We just leave everything.
I mean, the place was fenced in. It was 10,000 acres. It was fenced in and then fenced in again, and
so
and supposedly protected.
They were keeping rhinos, for crying out loud.
So Bob and Rick, the cameraman and the sound man, they go, no, we're going to take our stuff. So Brian and go, well, go ahead, you sissies. We're going to leave our stuff here. All of our tackle, canoes, trolling motors, paddles, cushions, everything. We're going to leave our stuff here, and we're going to hide it up in the bushes. So we did that. We hid everything in the bushes. Yeah. And we go home, we have supper, we go to the motel, we have a nice night, we all go to sleep, we get up early the next morning, and we come back. Everything is gone. Everything is gone.
Gone.
It's like we came back to a different place.
Yeah.
There was like no rods, no reels, no trolling motors, no canoes, no paddles. No, if we'd have left the peanut butter sandwich, it would have been gone. There was nothing left. Am I lying?
No.
And we just look at each other, and our film is over. I mean, because everything the first day, I mean, we filmed individual tackle. You know, we filmed close-ups on all the reels and fighting fish. We had a canoe that was gone. We had paddles gone, everything.
No sign of, I mean, you couldn't tell.
No.
Nobody's supposed to be in here.
No.
Who let y'all in?
No, I had a key to the place. I mean,
So, I mean, it
we
was
ran a
locked.
business there. I ran a business there on their property for 10 years.
But it was locked up, and the people just couldn't come and go
Yeah.
as they please. So
Yeah.
somebody had to come and get your stuff.
Somebody, well, they snuck in.
Yeah.
They,
But how they knew, how many lakes are on there?
oh, there's over 100 lakes.
And they came to our lake somehow. I mean, it was an inside job. I mean, somebody had to know something. There are 100 lakes. They had no way, and no one had how, I don't know. That was...
I don't know, but we, you know, actually Flip and I, we stood there and we looked down and we said, wait a minute, where's, and then we kind of walked over here. We're like, maybe we left it over here, maybe it's over here. And then we finally realized that, no, our stuff is gone. And I was, you know, it was 20 years ago. I was still fairly young in my career. And I mean, I had I had my rods and reels and leaders. I had my flies. I mean,
bags of equipment.
I was so well prepared for this. I mean, I wanted to do a good job. I mean, this is, you know, this is one of my childhood heroes growing up watching Flip on TV, and here I am. You know the feeling.
You overdid. You overdid.
Yeah, here you are on a Walker's Cay Chronicles.
Yeah.
So I had everything to a T, and it was gone. It was gone. And so we went back to the lodge where we were staying, and we called the police. You remember the police being there? The police came out, took a full report, and the director of the wilds came out and started doing damage control and crisis control. And I got on the phone with Mad River Outfitters, and they wound up bringing us rods and reels. If I'm not mistaken,
they brought us rods and reels. They brought us a trolling motor. I mean, they went around to Walmarts and they got paddles, cushions.
We went out and bought some stuff that second day.
I think we went to Zanesville and got some stuff.
Yeah.
And somehow we put this whole thing back together in one day.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we lost. I think we did lose a day.
I think we lost a day.
We lost a day, and I think we had 4 days.
Yeah.
And we lost 1 day, so we now are down to 3 days. And some woman posted on eBay. Was it eBay?
Yeah.
Posted on eBay a fly reel, a certain brand. It was a Finor.
Yeah, okay.
It was a small Finor, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it a T-bore?
It was a T-bore.
It was a T-bore, and it had
red
my
handle.
name engraved on it.
And the red handle.
And also, the manufacturer of the reel made special red handles for me. All of the handles for everybody were black, but he made for me red handles because I wanted them to look like the old Seamasters.
Oh, yeah.
With the red handles. And so, I mean, this thing comes up on eBay. There was no question. I mean, Well,
you could clearly see, I mean, on the front of the reel, it had the red handle, and on the back of the reel, it had the name Flip Pallot on the nameplate, and they're selling it on eBay.
Why was y'all looking at eBay?
The day after it was stolen.
No, somebody saw this. One of my customers saw this. They knew the story because the story was pretty legendary, you know, amongst Mad River Outfitters clients and throughout Central Ohio. And somebody saw this on eBay and said, hey, Brian, they sent me a message and it said, I think we may have found some of your stuff.
So this is after the fact, not during the shoot.
No, this is like a year later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is later.
It's like a year later, the next summer. It was like 2003. All of a sudden, I get a phone call and it says, hey, Brian, you might want to check eBay. There's a reel on there that says Flip Pallot. So I called the sheriff and I said, hey, you know, you remember this report? And sure they did. And I said, well, check this out. They went to the house of the person that was posting that reel, and they found most of his stuff. A few of the rods, a couple of reels and stuff like that. They didn't really find any of my stuff, the canoe, none of that, the trolling motors, none of that. But, and I wound up having to go drive out there to the sheriff's department and claim his reel and some of his stuff. But so it was, I mean, what a fiasco. But I mean, the beautiful thing is that we pulled it off.
But there's another part to the story. There is another.
Well, before you get to that, let's talk about, because, you know, that's of course I'm biased, but that's one of my favorite episodes, and I think you've always agreed that
was pretty amazing. I mean, we had some things happen fishing-wise in that thing. One thing that I remember is that Brian hooked a bass that was about this long, a nice bass, and fights him up to the canoe and gets him almost up to the canoe. And Johnny, a bass comes to try to eat Brian's bass, and his mouth was like this fire pit.
I
mean, I don't know where this.
It's a true story. I've never, still to this day, I've never seen a bass.
No, neither have I, and neither have I. This thing was some sort of a prehistoric thing that came up out of the bottom of this thing, and it tried to eat a bass this big, and it chased that thing around the canoe, and all the time I'm trying to get a fly in front of this bass, and actually he did take my fly one time, but I failed to.
No, you jumped him.
Oh, I failed to land him though.
You failed to land him.
But he did take the fly, and I thought I got a good hook up on him, and I got a sensational jump out of this thing.
Oh, that thing
was twirling.
It was like a tarpon.
Yeah, unbelievable. All right, now can I tell?
Well, and then we wound up at the end of the show. We had still not really caught a big show bass. We'd caught plenty of bass, but we still hadn't caught that show bass. We got that good footage. And you can see it, and I'm sure we'll play it here. But you can see the whole thing where I say flip cast over here, flip cast over there, and it was on a chartreuse clouser, if you remember.
Yes, sir.
It was on a chartreuse clouser, and he hooks the bass. It jumps, it comes out of the air. Immediately off, and we were both just we didn't know what to say. We couldn't. There were no
words.
I think that's exactly what you said. As a matter of fact, I think you looked back at me and said, "Brian, there are no words," and I was doing something like this. I was going like, I've never in all the years that I've been bass fishing.
But I think we got the jump, and
we got the jump. Yeah, it's on.
I mean, on film, we got it.
But we wound up literally like the last hour. We wound up hooking a really, really, I mean, not like that giant, but it was a 6, 7, 8 pound fish. I don't think we weighed it, but it was a
big bass.
It made the show, and it was one of the biggest bass that I had seen at that time come out of there, and it was really special. Flip, we were getting hung up on something, and I was backing the canoe out, and then Flip finally lands the fish, and of course, in typical Walker's Cay Chronicles fashion, they did a great job of making a great story out of it. And then Flip lands the fish, and he says, "Hey, Brian, do you happen to have a camera?" And he said, "I'd like to make a photo of this." And sure enough, I had a camera there, and boom, I made a picture. And they froze that frame, and it was really special.
It was cool.
And it was in that same episode that we first played music together.
That's right. At the end of the show, we got well, you had a mandolin, I think.
I was playing the mandolin.
And I had my guitar, and we were playing down on a dock, I think.
Yeah. We played around a campfire too for the end of the show, and we were actually cooking up a bunch of bluegill that we had caught.
Yeah.
That's when you showed me that recipe where you kind of fillet them, and then you just take them, you take the rib cages and just peel off the meat like
that's a southern way of cooking bluegill. Sure.
So it turned out to be a really special, and this was 2002, so we threw in a little bit of the patriotism. Flip said something like, I think in the show, that there's nothing more American than catching a bass on a fly rod, and nothing more American than sitting around a campfire and picking bluegrass tunes, which, if I remember correctly, we played a song called Red Haired Boy. And we actually recorded the song. Rick Patterson recorded we sat around a picnic table and recorded the song, if you remember that.
Yeah.
So that was actually Flip and I playing in the show. And the intro, and then the outro, and the whole 9 yards. But yeah, there's more to the story.
Yeah. So, I get home, and the day that I get home, I start feeling. Oh no. Well, no. Let me back up just a minute. So, the mosquitoes at the wilds were terrible, and so these guys they're putting on all kind of spray, and they're coating themselves with all kind of stuff and everything, and the mosquitoes really were bad. And so in typical stupid macho, mosquitoes don't, I don't
Like
I ignore mosquitoes.
Like I do.
Yeah, no, I'm from the Everglades. I don't worry about mosquitoes. Man, I get home and I come down with I'm talking about a death-dealing fever and sick and laying on the floor sweating. I couldn't even stay in the bed. And so Diane schleps me to the doctor. It turns out I had West Nile virus from the mosquitoes, in Ohio, and I didn't have the sense to put on any kind of insect repellent. And these guys were all fine. I mean, they put all the stuff on it. No, I'm a man. God, I was sick. West Nile virus. Oh my God, the fever. I had a high fever, laying around on the floor.
Yeah,
for days.
I remember calling you and shortly after, and you just telling me that you had never been so sick before,
never.
and that you were never coming back to Ohio to fish again. And it was, we had all of our stuff stolen, and you got West Nile virus, and never come back to Ohio. But then it was the next summer that we filmed the Carpin episode.
No.
Which was thanks to
the carp.
The carp.
Carp, yeah.
Yeah, which was thanks to Whitlock, which was thanks to Dave, and of course thanks to Lefty.
Yeah.
And that whole thing was brought on by Lefty, because I took Lefty carp fishing out there, and he immediately fell in love with the place and the fishing. I mean, you're throwing mulberries at carp, and he said, Brian, you gotta contact Flip, and Flip's got to film a show here. And so this is actually how Flip and I met. Lefty, this is many years before we did the Wilds thing, but Lefty said, Brian, you got to bring Flip out here. He's got to film a Walker's Cave. So he gave me Flip's fax number. And so he said, just fax him. He'll get back to you. So I started faxing Flip like once a month. And once a month I would fax Flip. This is long before we had internet or a cell phone or anything like that. So I would fax him, and no response, no response. Finally, like a year later, I get this phone call. Is this Brian? Yes, this is Brian. This is Flip Pallot. Why do you keep faxing me?
Lefty made me get a fax. I was guiding. There was no reason I needed a fax. Lefty said, Flip, you have got to get a fax. You have to have a fax. And I went, Lefty, what am I going to do? Put it in the bait well of my skiff? I don't want to listen to, I don't want to have a fax. I don't want that. And so but it was Lefty. So I got a fax. I actually got a fax.
Yeah, I know.
Lefty beat me up so bad over the fax. And then I didn't have any idea how to use it or what it was for or what. I had no need for a fax. And then I keep getting these faxes from this guy in Ohio. And I'm first of all, nobody else had ever faxed me, ever.
First one to fax.
What a great honor.
Were you faxing a piece of paper
with
a note on it? Or?
Oh, yeah. No, I faxed him religiously.
Because some of the faxes would print out the paper, some you had to push the button to make it print out the paper.
I have no idea what it did on his end, but
nothing.
I sent a piece of paper through with all of my information, and please give me a call because I would love to fish with you, and I'd love you to come to Ohio and come to Mad River Outfitters, and I never heard nothing. In fact, I used to call Lefty. I'd say, Flip doesn't respond to me. And he said, Brian, just keep faxing him. He'll get back to you eventually.
Lefty also, after the fax thing, seriously, I wish Diane was here. Lefty made me get a computer. He said, Flip, you have to have a computer. I went, Lefty, I don't know anything about it. I don't need it. I don't need it. He goes, you need it. You have to have it. Lefty actually sent a friend of his from Maryland to Homestead, where Diane and I were living, and he brought a computer. The guy brought a computer from Maryland. set it up in our house and tried to teach me how to use the computer.
That would have been a show.
It would. Well, let me tell you how it ended. The show ended. I became so frustrated with this computer. Now, this was back in the days of DOS as an operating system and floppy disks, and I mean, I had no, aside from Lefty, I didn't know anybody that had a computer. And I had no need for a computer, and I couldn't use it. It frustrated me. Anytime I tried to do anything, it didn't work, and nothing worked. And finally, I reached the height of my frustration with this computer, and I took it out in our backyard in Homestead, and I shot it with an arrow. And the arrow stuck right in the floppy disk port. It was the coolest, and so I took a picture of it with my camera and sent it to Lefty, and Lefty had a conniption. I mean, he was so pissed off at me because I shot the computer, but it made me feel so good when the arrow hit the computer. Oh, God.
Well, it was Lefty that first inspired me to contact you and gave me your contact information, which I don't think.
How did that work out for you? Not too well.
I'm sitting here, aren't I?
Well, I guess ultimately it did. I apologize for not responding
after
to your
25 years of friendship or whatever it is now. But, and it was also Dave Whitlock. You know, Dave introduced you to the carp thing, and I think opened your eyes to that. And then when I told you about what we were doing, I think there was some legitimacy at that point. And I think Dave told you should go fishing with this guy, because of course I took Dave out there on several occasions. And Dave and I filmed the DVD, the video. Well, it was a VHS video when it first came out. Dave and I filmed the carping video, and it was all about catching carp on a fly and mulberries. But so it was really thanks to the two of them that you and I became friends and solidified that friendship. And we've been friends, and we've been doing work and doing schools and filming shows and filming YouTube stuff ever since.
But that episode of the Wilds, that was our first. That was our first one together, and since then, I can't count the individual film projects that we've done together and little snippets and things, but
and websites and schools.
We're just getting started.
Yeah, we're just getting started. Well, and I'll let you in on another piece of trivia. The carping episode was the third last Walker's Cay Chronicles ever filmed, and the last two Walker's Cay Chronicles ever filmed were in Chile, and that was he and I and Diane in Chile. And they never made it to television, but they are available. You can see them. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't understand the question.
I don't get it either, but that's okay.
The final two episodes ever filmed, we filmed them thinking that they were going to be in season 16 or 17 of the Walker's Cay Chronicles, and by the time we got home, I think it was pretty much all over, and they never made it to TV, but they did get turned into episodes, and you can find those two episodes on our YouTube channel, and those were pretty special episodes. So
it would have been 17, wouldn't it? Because you did 16.
16 seasons, so that would have been the first two episodes of season 17. So, and then we did Flip Pallot's Fishing the Keys, which remind me, I want to get that from you before we leave.
I don't know if I can lay hands on it right away.
Okay.
That might be a major search.
Oh, okay. I thought you had it, but
I think I do have it somewhere.
Okay.
But
all right.
It's in the computer. It's got the arrow in it.
It's on that computer, and it's got an arrow jammed into it. Yeah. Well, it sure has been a pleasure, and it's been countless memories, and you know what? Mostly countless laughs. I mean, everything that we do, although a lot of it's pretty serious, and when the camera's rolling, we gotta be on our best behavior. But the thing that I'll always look back on the history that we have together, and Johnny, I'm sure you can say the same thing about Flip, is
humor.
is humor.
Oh yeah,
It's
a lot of good times.
It's the fun that we have, it's the laughs that we have, it's the stupid crap that we come up with and that we say. And you know, if you can put a cat in the oven but it don't make a biscuit, for crying out loud.
A scorpion can't kill you, but it will make a pregnant woman sick.
There you have it.
Well, thanks for watching, friends. It's one of my favorite places on earth is to be right there in Flip's backyard, around the campfire, having some supper, and talking about old times. So we appreciate you listening, and thanks for watching as always. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and be sure to watch this video here and watch this video here. And of course, stay tuned. We've got a lot of fly fishing content coming your way.